Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And I've been going over a series of video presentations based off of the Microsoft.com Getting Started with ASP.NET MVC5 series. So far I've done the first 4 out of 11 lessons: getting started, adding a controller, adding a view, and adding a model. Now it's time to create a connection string and work with SQL Server Local DB. Now this is a very, very short presentation. It literally is 3.5 pages long. So it'll probably take no more than 10 minutes or so. So, creating a connection string and working with SQL Server Local DB. The MovieDB context class we created in the last lesson handles the task of connecting to the database and mapping movie objects to database records. Says one question you might have, though, is how to specify which database it will connect to. You don't actually have to specify which database to use. The entity framework will default to using LocalDB. If you want more on LocalDB, again, you can click the link. In this section, we'll explicitly add a connection string in the web.config file of the application. What does that mean? Well, notice in here we've got this file that says web.config, and there it is. So that's what we're going to be looking at, I believe at least, in just a couple minutes. LocalDB is a lightweight version of the SQL Server Express database engine. All right. What it means is it's not as high maintenance, for lack of better words. LocalDB runs in a special execution mode of SQL Server Express. It allows you to work with databases as MDF, which I believe stands for Microsoft Database File. Typically, LocalDB database files are kept in the app data folder of a web project. Remember that folder right here that's currently empty? App data. SQL Server Express is not recommended for use in production web applications. All right, so it's meant for testing. LocalDB in particular should not be used for production because it's not designed to work with IIS. We're not working with IIS. If you remember, we're working with IIS Express. But you can migrate a LocalDB database to SQL Server or SQL Azure. We'll talk about all that stuff later. As it says, in Visual Studio 2017, LocalDB is installed by default. All right. By default, the entity framework looks for a connection string named the same as the object context class, in our case, MovieDB context. Again, if you want more information on SQL connection strings, you can click the link. All right, open the application web config, the one on the bottom, down there. That's the one I opened, not the web config in the views folder. So in other words, if we go down to views here, there's a web config there either. We don't want to use that one. We close it. We don't even see that one exists. We want this one. That's the one that I opened. All right, that's the bottom of page 1 out of these 4 pages. Okay. Going on in our handout. Find the connection string element, which is right there. Add the following connection string to the connection string element. So find connection strings. Right here. Right there. And you'll notice that right now it's got that default in there. What we want to add is this one right here. So I'm going to copy that from right there. I'm going to go into our code, hit enter right here, and paste that in. Now, where it says provider name, I'm going to hit enter so that these two look pretty much the same. So notice connection string equal, and look how similar these two things look. They don't look identical, but they look very similar to one another. And we are telling it we want it to use movies.mdf will be the name of our database. So the author says here, again, the two connection strings are similar. The first one is named default connection and is used with that membership database. That was for that login thing. So that was for in here where we saw actually our, where are we here? Well, it's not going to show in here, but when we ran our program, all right, I don't think it would hurt to run this. Let's see. We'll go to this welcome thing that's in here. That's fine. I'll just right mouse click and view it in the browser. I just want you to understand this, all right? And what I want you to understand it's going to come up. Thought it would. Don't need that. There we go. All right. What I want you to understand is that what they talk about in there, that default. Oh, crud. I had a bunch of stuff open and I just closed all of it. All right. View in the browser. It may ask me if I want to bring up my old session, but we'll see. So as it says in here, these are very similar, these two connection strings. Come on, go. All right. But the first one, the default, is with this one. It's with the registration. That's what I wanted you to realize. Okay? Yeah, it's not asking me. Doggone it. So we're almost at the end of this lesson, to be honest with you. So the author says here again, the two connection strings are similar. The first one, named default connection, is used for the membership database to control who can access the application. The one that we just added specifies a local DB database, movie.mdf, located in the app data folder. Says we won't use the membership database in this tutorial. If you want more, you can click on that one. I'm not going to do that. The name of the connection string must match the DB context class. The name of the DB context class is movie DB context. You don't actually need to add the movie DB context connection string. If you don't specify the connection string, the entity framework will create it for you by default. You can name this anything you want. Next, we'll build a new movie controller class that's used to display the movie data and allow users to create new movie listings. So that is it for the first 5 sections of this. We still don't have anything here. And I'm wondering is if we go to our movie CS that's right there, probably this isn't going to do anything, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. This is just going to run the home page. All right, and I'm going to close it right away, and I'm going to go back, close. We still have nothing right now under app data, which is fine. All right, I'm going to do a save all because it's time. And so far I have gone through the first 5 lessons of this tutorial. I have done the getting started. From there we did the, well, that just named all of the lessons. We did the getting started, which was version 1 or presentation 1. Then we did the adding a controller, presentation 2, the adding a view, which was presentation 3, the adding a model, which was presentation 4, and this creating a connection string, which was presentation 5. When I return, we're going to start going through the next sections. The next one will be accessing your model's data from a controller, where we'll build a new movies controller. Then we'll talk about edit methods and the edit view. Then we'll allow for search capability, the ability to add a new field to our database. We'll add validation. We'll look at details and delete methods. And that'll be it for this series, the first 11. Then we're going to skip the getting started with EF, and we're going to jump right into the EF database first. All right? So I'll be back with the next 6 lessons in this thing of tutorials shortly.